Okay guys, this is not the kind of video I normally do, but something just came out in the news and I want to talk about it. This isn't a missing person video. Well, she was missing, but she's not anymore. So do you all remember the abduction of Sherri Papini? I followed that case and remember it well, but in case you don't know about it, I will do a quick summary. Back on November 2nd of 2016, a 34-year-old Redding, California mother and wife disappeared after going on a jog. If I remember correctly, the only thing they found was her phone lying on the ground by the road, and it was kind of down the road from their house, I believe near their mailbox. No one knew where she had gone. Her husband and family were obviously frantic, and her disappearance received national attention.
This California mother of two going missing near her home more than a week ago. Sherri Papini disappeared November 2nd, last seen jogging on this rural road in Redding. Keith says he reported his wife missing when she didn't pick up their children from daycare. He believes she was abducted. And the sheriff says a secret witness program is offering a $50,000 reward to help find the missing woman.
Investigators say they don't have enough evidence or information at this time to point to an abduction. But the sheriff's office says it has received more than 100 tips.
Police spent countless hours and around $150,000 trying to locate her to no avail. But on Thanksgiving morning, 22 days after she went missing, Sherri was found running near the I-5 freeway outside of Yolo, California. She had a chain around her waist connected to her wrists. She was able to flag down a passing motorist who stopped to help her. She was found near Woodland, about 150 miles from her home, and she was in really bad shape. She told authorities she had been thrown from a vehicle with a bag over her head, and she had been branded on her shoulder, like you know how they used to brand cows by heating up the metal branding iron, I think is what it's called, and putting it on their hide. Yeah, that kind of branded. She looked rough, but she was home and her family was so relieved, and everyone in the U.S. was just so happy that this mother and wife had been found. Sherri told police that two armed Hispanic women driving a dark-colored SUV had abducted her at gunpoint and held her captive, repeatedly beaten her, starved her. Police released sketches of the two Hispanic kidnappers, but cops were never able to identify either suspect or come up with a motive on why they would have taken Sherri. Now, when Sherri was found, there were people that were questioning her story and wondering if she made the whole thing up, which really made her family members and husband mad. Her husband completely defended her. He did TV interviews, completely backing up his wife because he loves her and of course he believed her. Why would she make something like this up? Police even said that she was not a suspect.
Do you believe Mrs. Papini's story?
Absolutely. She had reported she had been abducted. She was discovered in restraints and had been assaulted.
Well, here we are, over 5 years later, and it turns out it was allegedly all a lie. An ex-boyfriend of Sherri's that she had previously dated in 2006 has come forward saying that Sherri was with him at his home in Costa Mesa the entire 22 days that she was missing. Apparently, allegedly, he and Sherri had contrived this whole plan using burner phones, and the ex rented a car, drove 7 hours to Redding to come and pick her up, and she stayed with him for 22 days. He says she took over his bedroom, but they never had sex. He claims that she inflicted all those horrible injuries upon herself so she could, make it look like she'd been abused by the people that abducted her. He says she hit herself, burned herself, starved herself, and he says he was the one who branded her, but it was because she told him to. She had him go to Hobby Lobby to get a wood-burning tool so that he could do it. Hobby Lobby should never be used for evil. That's one of my favorite craft and home decor stores. So anyway, Sherri had the ex take her back and drop her off when she decided she wanted to go home because she missed her children, and Sherri and the ex never spoke again. He claims he had no idea of the national coverage her disappearance had until he returned home from dropping her off. He didn't have a TV in his apartment, so he hadn't seen the news. This guy, who he hasn't been named, says he went along with all of it, because Sherri was telling him that she was being abused and assaulted by her husband back at home in Redding, and he believed her. He wanted to help her. She told him that she had filed numerous police reports on her husband, but that police weren't doing anything. Side note, she never filed any police reports on her husband, ever. They did a familial DNA search and found that it was a partial match to the ex-boyfriend's father. And that is how they were able to connect the dots and talk to this ex and discover it was all an elaborate hoax. Back in August of 2020, 4 years after she had been found, police came to talk to her again, and they showed her the ex-boyfriend's confession that it was all a hoax and phone record evidence that proved she was lying and that there was no abduction. But Sherri still stuck to her story and wouldn't admit to anything. She still claimed that her whole abduction story was real. I don't know why it took them another year and a half to finally arrest and charge her. Now, Sherri received over $30,000 from the California Victims' Compensation Board over a 4-year period, and that is why she is being charged with the mail fraud. She accepted that money willingly. She also received around $50,000 from a GoFundMe that someone had set up for her. All those resources and all that money could have been used to find others that were actually missing. If she's convicted, she could face up to 5 years in prison and a fine of up to $250,000 for lying to federal officers. And if she's convicted of the mail fraud, that carries a max sentence of 20 years and an additional $250,000 fine. Her ex-boyfriend, who conspired with her to help make up this story, has not been charged with anything. He probably got some kind of deal for admitting to police that it was a hoax. He is cooperating with law enforcement, and he is going to testify against her. Interesting fact, this guy was actually someone they looked into when Sherri first went missing in 2016, but he was quickly cleared of any involvement. They had no idea that Sherri was actually at his apartment hiding out. If she did this, I have to say if she planned it all out, faked everything, how could you do that to your family? How could you let them worry like that for 3 weeks and then show back up looking like you've been tortured? Think about all the money, time, and resources that was wasted trying to find her that could have been used on someone else, someone that actually needed the help, that was really missing or lost and needed found. And all those people that donated to the GoFundMe because their hearts were broken for her and all that she had supposedly been through. They wanted to help, and it was all allegedly a lie. I feel horrible for her husband too. Can you imagine? Ugh, it makes me sick to my stomach. Sherri has been booked into the Sacramento County Jail, and her attorney, I guess, tried to get her released because she has food allergies, but that was denied because obviously she is a flight risk, and she will appear in federal court next week to find out if she can get bail. She is under a mandatory 2-week quarantine and not allowed visitors until that 2 weeks is up. I am very interested to hear what Sherri has to say. I think she'll keep denying it or change her story and try to pin it on the ex. That's just my prediction. So far, it looks like her family is still backing her. I know this isn't anything like my usual videos, but it was a case I followed closely before I ever started my channel, and I want to hear what you all think about it. Do you remember this story from 2016? Did you follow it? Why do you think someone would do something like this? Let me know down in the comments. This is just crazy, and I don't understand how someone could do this or why. I don't know what was going on in her home, but I would think that if her husband had been abusing her, there would be some sign of it, or she would have, made a police report, but I don't know. It's almost like the movie Gone Girl brought to life, really. That's all I have for today, guys. I gotta head to work. Thank you all for watching. I will see you all in the next one.